hopefully enjoy what she has planned for us. Let's begin by saying our names. We'll go around and I'll call on people on screen. Chris?
Ellen, Kathy, Marilyn, Elaine, Juliet, Carol, Karen, Leslie, Anne, Diane, Debbie, Gretchen, Susan, Nancy, Marianne, Mariana,
Constance,
Wayne, Miriam, Subhana, Kristen that says she's Nicole, but she can't fool us. Joe, Christine, Patty, not that we would love Nicole to be here. I mean, she is here. Ileani, Romaine, Barbara, Linda, nice, Gretchen, oh, hi Gretchen, and Deborah. So a couple of announcements. Reminder, we're in practice period. Keep, whether you think you're formally in or not, there is no in and out. What is your intention, and how do we kindly and with great passion keep asking, what are we doing here? What's my intention in the midst of this great, crazy, beautiful world? Buddha's Enlightenment Retreat is coming up at the beginning of December. Please come. And if you're from out of town, there are Sangha members who can open their home. There's also space at Open Sky. So that's Gretchen, our dear registrar, is the person to contact about all of that. And we're going to go to Tassajara again for Sangha Week, and that information will be in the newsletter. And please, it would be so wonderful. It'd be wonderful if everybody came, but whoever can come, it's a great opportunity. That's in July. That's coming up. Okay, and Romaine just joined with her granddaughter. I mean, I know she's not there, but it's nice to see you together. Okay, do you need my computer?
I think so.
Okay, here we go. Passing it to Constance. She's so Constance.
Little trouble here.
Wow, there you go. Fine, there you go.
Okay. Table set up here. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. So, okay, I'm really excited about today. I first want to say hello to my friend Cheryl, who is joining me today, and she's going to help me out a bit later. Thank you so much, Cheryl. And so this is a little different than our usual talk. I am gonna talk for a little while, but then we're going to recess to the gym where the church has agreed to open it up for us for 10 or 15 minutes so that Cheryl and I can dance.
And we're going to take everybody on screen with us in the computer.
Yes, you'll come with us. And then I think that somebody's going to record and put it on the newsletter so that it'll be a different format. Anyway, thank you so much for your attention. I totally am humbled by it. Did I forget anything? All right, so So I've shared this thing that I'm going to say right now with some of the people in the teas, the small teas that we've had. And so I wanted to share it with you all. Sometime before the practice period, Chris said that she wanted me to be Shuso. And I said, of course, because you've asked. However, being the linear nurse that I am, I wanted to read all the books immediately, which I did pretty much, and was glad because it gave me a little bit of a foundation around the Lotus Sutra. However, it was sort of like the difference between a cake recipe and the cake itself. You can't eat the recipe, but you can sure eat and enjoy the actual cake. So I also wanted to, write my Way-Seeking Mind talk right away and write out all the outlines for all the talks, even before the practice period started. That was the only way I was going to feel prepared. But a couple weeks into that plan, I realized it was a fool's errand because I would be completely eliminating my experience of the practice period and the Lotus Sutra itself. So if I had written all my talks out beforehand, I would have felt really settled. But thinking back, I believe that I would have been sorely disappointed. I think my talks would probably have been wooden and maybe one-dimensional. Instead, it's been sort of a wheel-turning roller coaster. But each talk I have done has informed the next one. And each tea and interaction with Sangha members has informed not only my talks, but me personally. So what I'm trying to say is that studying the sutra is not just a rational activity. It also is a heart pursuit. And we live in a historical world, but our heart mind lives in a different dimension altogether because we love each other and we care about what happens to our beloveds. And we have wild imaginations and creative ideas. For example, I do watercolor painting also. And at first I put pure water on the paper, and then I put color pigment into the wet water, and the color just blooms right in front of me. It was like another world opening up. And our actions have weight and density. So not just in art, but in every relationship. And it reminds me of a poem by Madeleine L'Engle. This poem was actually important to me. And so I made a little book. I put it in this. So I'm going to read it to you. This is the irrational season, when love blooms bright and wild. Had Mary been filled with reason, there would have been no room for the child. And I just feel like that really encapsulates the things that we are talking about in the Lotus Sutra. I urge you to continue to be open to the Lotus Sutra and make room for change, for the absurd, for the wild and unexpected. The Lotus Sutra could change your life. So keeping that thought in mind, let's take a look at the Bodhisattva wonderful sound. Thich Nhat Hanh puts the Bodhisattva wonderful sound in his action section of the Lotus Sutra. And he talks about the third dimension. the dimension of action. So I'm going to read a couple of things. Tiny table. I'm going to read a couple things about what Thich Nhat Hanh says. Okay. The Lotus Sutra affirms that we all have the capacity to become a Buddha. This is a very great gift. How can we best use this wonderful gift that we have received? By becoming the arms of the Buddha through our practice in our daily life, in our Sangha building, in our work in the world. This is why I propose that we develop a third division of the Lotus Sutra, the dimension of action, to complement and complete the teachings of the historical and ultimate dimensions. When Thich Nhat Hanh talks about the dimension of action, he talks about how each Bodhisattva in the Lotus Sutra takes action in the world, making that Bodhisattva an exemplar of how we ourselves can take action in this world. Reeve also talks about Bodhisattva wonderful sounds in terms of his name. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay. So I'm going to read a little bit out of Reeves' Lotus Sutra, the stories. That the title of this chapter's story is named Wonderful Voice, or perhaps Wonderful Sound, is another curiosity of the Lotus Sutra. Absolutely nothing is said about his voice or his sound. Wonderful Body would be more appropriate, as his wonderful body is described in some detail, some 42,000 leagues tall, radiant and brilliant, powerful, pure gold in color, with eyes the size of lotus leaves, and a face as beautiful as millions of moons together. But there is not a word about his voice. Maybe he should be called Bodhisattva Wonderful Sound Body. So here's his story. Buddha sent out a light from his forehead, and we all know this, illuminating all the distant universes. The Buddha's light shines on Bodhisattva Wonderful Sound, and Bodhisattva Wonderful Sound wants to visit the earth. He asks his own Buddha if he can go, receives permission, and flies to earth on an adorned platform. He pays homage to Shakyamuni Buddha and Abundant Treasures Buddha, and then he goes home. And that's his story. But the story continues. One of the earth bodhisattvas asked the Buddha about Bodhisattva Wonderful Sound's background and what he's known for. And Buddha explains that the more important part of Bodhisattva Wonderful Sound is what his body can do. His body can change into different forms to meet the needs of those who need help. He can change into the form of a teacher, a nun, a child, a centaur, an ordinary citizen, a high priest, a being, a non-being, pretty much any form that would be a compassionate and efficient help to others. Of course, every one of us shows up in different ways to help others. We all have strengths to be of service, even in very small ways. So this is my example. I'm going to tell you about my example. And I know that you will all find and have your own example. When I thought about Bodhisattva, wonderful sound, who seemed to dance through his different forms, I thought about how I felt when I was dancing, how dancing felt like a form of meditation to me. So I first experienced the feeling of meditation and dance when I was in my 20s. I had gone to the KPFK Culture Fair in Los Angeles. There were all sorts of activities going on, but the ones that really struck me were the dancing ones. I came across a group teaching a folk dance, specifically a spiral dance. We started out dancing to Greek music, arms embracing people next to us, following the steps in a very large circle that gradually spiraled into a very tight coil. The dance lasted what seemed like an eternity. And I was in the middle of this mass of humanity, and I was being carried along by the music, the people, and the rhythm. I was smiling the whole time. The feeling was exhilarating. And afterwards, I felt like I was being carried along by those I danced with as I walked around the festival grounds. When I moved to Sonoma County, I found a folk dance group and started learning Greek, French, and Balkan folk dancing. One dance we learned was called the Pravo. It was a Bulgarian folk dance. The dancers wear belts draped loosely around their hips, and each dancer holds onto the belt of the other person next to them on either side. The dancers are literally bound together. The dancers start out very slow and then increase the tempo, sort of like the Enme. There is this constant forward movement into the center and reversing back. It's kind of like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, and they all go around the circle. In other dances, there was minute pauses and rock steps. As the steps were repeated, for me, it was like we were repeating a mantra with our bodies. It was often very mesmerizing, and there was no thinking. My body knew what to do, and it was a very pleasant state of mind. Later, I began couple dancing. This was a whole different situation. I was dancing with a partner, and I could look into their face and smile. Swing, waltz, salsa, rumba, country, hustle. I learned them all. I first learned to be a follower because I was a woman. But soon I decided to learn how to lead. I was ecstatic. Each role had a different feeling to it. As a follower, I listened deeply to what the leader was asking me to do. There was no need to think about anything. But as a leader, I found that I wanted to protect the follower. I didn't ask the follower to do anything. I learned to simply invite them to make a step. Then my dance teacher took the whole class to Argentina, and he introduced us to his teacher, Augusto, who taught Argentine tango. We took group and private lessons with Augusto, and we learned from him many of the nuances of Argentine tango. I went back to Argentina 2 more times in the same year just to learn more about this dance. There were times when I was dancing with someone and we were moving as one being. No words, no thinking, just listening, inviting, moving with the music. A dancer has a frame. In Argentine tango, The leader's frame, their body, invites the follower to make a step or a turn. There is deep listening on both roles, and each role is helping the other. The follower can follow the leader's invitation, but the leader also follows the follower. The leader can't make the follower do anything. If the leader tries to demand a move, however, they can actually injure the follower. In Argentine tango, at times, the follower has a mind of their own, and the leader must always take the follower into account. So there is a constant give and take. So, what does dance, or specifically Argentine tango, have to do with Boddhisattva, wonderful sound, and Zen in general? I think that meditation and dance have a lot in common. Chris often says that Zazen is a body practice. I think dance can be a body practice as well. When we have service, there are different roles that each person takes on. Each role helps the others. When I dance with a beginner, I try to find out what they know, because I don't want to invite them to do steps that they aren't familiar with. I want them to feel confident in their dance. At a retreat, there are roles that make sure that everything goes according to plan and to deal with unexpected things. As a follower, I can always tell when a leader keeps the follower always in mind. The leader is conscious of where the follower is in space and time, and particularly where their weight is, and the leader will adjust. Sangha members hold everyone in high regard, bowing often. In Argentine tango, each role is always respectful of the other. If they want to give advice or to teach, each person always asks the other if they want to receive the advice or teaching. Finally, Reeves makes an interesting statement about the meaning of Bodhisattva, wonderful sound, his story, and our lives. One obvious meaning of this story for us is that we too can become bodhisattvas who take on different forms and roles in order to help others. And there is another side of this, even its opposite. Anyone can be a bodhisattva for us. If wonderful sound bodhisattva can take on any form, anyone we meet might be wonderful sound bodhisattva in a form designed to help us. But very often, at least, someone can be a bodhisattva for us only if we let them. Only if we open ourselves in such a way as to enable someone to be a bodhisattva for us. So, thank you very much. So I think, I'm not sure, it's live, and the church has said that she was going to open the door.
Did you check with her this
I
morning?
checked with her this morning.
Oh, good, okay.
So guess we can retire to the gym.
Yeah, yeah.
Now.
It's nothing.
Yes.
there we go.
Learning new tricks.
This is like what the Buddha did with his light beam and wonderful body, is saying to all the different realms, can you hear?
Yeah, can you hear? Yes.
I see you, can you see me?
Yeah. Exactly. So, thank you all for.
Thank you.
So, it was lovely to dance for you. And so, do you think we should, would you like to get into groups and talk about Boddhisattva, wonderful sound, and helping others?
Well, could we talk in the large group?
Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to.
Okay.
And ask you things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have a
absolutely.
question.
Yes.
Okay, can I say? Okay. Because the focus is so much on the feet, I mean, which is amazing. And then remember, it's a full body practice. I mean, it's manifesting through what it looks like as feet. So I'm curious about the full body practice of how you do that. Pay particular attention to one foot, the other foot, and with your partner, and just tell us, how do you do this?
Well, you know, it's in other dances, it's like usually it's the hand that you have the other person, you're holding on to the other person, you're giving communication with the hand and also your body. But in Argentine tango, it's a completely different kind of situation because most of the time we were dancing chest to chest. And so my invitation came from my shoulders and my, you know, turning like this. And it's like when she was going backwards, it's like she could hear what I was saying. It's like what I wanted her to do. It was through my chest. And and it's yeah, it's a whole kind of different dance because you're in other dances a lot of times it's like you're kind of, you have a frame but you're not really kind of touching, or at least it's like sometimes you're touching down in the waist level and you're kind of spread out like this, like in a, you know, a waltz, you know, it's kind of, you are this big flower. But in Argentine tango, you're kind of like this. You're kind of like this, and you're putting pressure on the other person. You're you know, the balancing also happens that way too.
So I just want, so it's the chest, like shoulders.
Yeah, yeah.
It's this is the pivot.
Exactly.
Pivot point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I found it really interesting, and very much like Zazen, that you didn't look at each other. You almost had the same Zazen gaze.
Yeah, kind of a downward. Yeah.
Is that intentional or?
It actually, I think it's really part of the dance, because it's like at a, Argentine tango dance, a lot of times the follower will be, her eyes would be completely closed, and she's not even paying attention to anything that's happening in the group. She's really just focused on what the leader is communicating to her. And my, it's like, if I have enough room, because as a leader, you have to keep an eye open to what's happening in front of you, because people wear spike heels in this dance. And so you don't want to injure anybody, And it is all an invitation, because there's a step that's called the salida in Argentine tango, and it's the first step that you do when you're entering. It's a circular dance, so people are going around in a circle, and the leader looks to the person that's coming up toward them, making eye contact and looking this way, and it's you back up, and then you enter the line of dance, and it's called the salida, and salida means exit, actually, in Spanish, and it's like you're exiting where you're from, and you're going to the dance. It's almost kind of interesting, it's like you're saying goodbye to the historical world and you're entering the ultimate world.
That's really cool.
But yeah, the gaze is down usually, and sometimes if I have enough room, I close my eyes and just dance.
I don't usually do this, but I was so compelled. I'm sure many people know the T.S. Eliot poem. I'm just going to read the first 2 lines and I'll put it in the newsletter. At the still point of the turning world, neither flesh nor fleshless, neither from nor towards. At the still point, there the dance is.
Oh, very cool. That is very
I had to
cool.
find it.
Yeah.
Put it in
Thank you. That would be lovely.
Yeah.
So close to the heart.
It is. It
That's
is
what I
close
was
to the
thinking,
heart.
is,
Yeah.
Can you feel each other's heartbeat?
Well, not through all the clothes and everything, but it is. It's the main step in Argentine tango is a walk. I didn't do a lot of walking because I wanted to, do some of the steps. It's kind of fun to do those. But walking, you can actually do a whole dance just by walking. And it's really peculiar because it's like walking, you think, oh, okay, that's no big deal. But actually the walk is, you have to practice the walk for a long time before you kind of get the connection between the follower and the leader.
I was thinking the walk is, we do the walk, which is key.
Right.
Which is, if you go out there and you just think, well, I'm just walking, it's like, but you slow down and you feel your connection to the earth and to your bones and to your blood moving and everybody around you. And I just had a flash of Thich Nhat Hanh when it was during the Vietnam War, and he came over, or maybe it was post, I can't, but it was involved with peace. And he was going down one of the main streets in New York City with a huge crowd behind him, going really slow and mindfully. And this little tiny Vietnamese man was communing with everyone all the way back in the march and with the universe and being peace. It really is the heart of the teaching, is like walk with all beings. Let all beings walk with you. We're just practicing in Zazen so we can get up and act like Bodhisattvas. And at least remember there's somebody next to us, behind us.
I have a question, the online person. Hello, here I am. Hi, Constance.
Yeah, turn it up.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on our side, it was silent. And I have to tell you how remarkable it was to watch the one being you two became in this completely mesmerizing, meditative, I don't have a word. It was truly remarkable. And I let myself not assume who was leading and who was following, and just paid attention to what was happening with bodies and feet, and holy mackerel, holy moly macaroni. I mean, it was really, I encourage everybody, I'm assuming we're going to get it in the newsletter, the video maybe. And I encourage everybody to turn off your sound when you get it, if you've, the folks who were there and heard the sound, and just witness what that creation was. Remarkable, really remarkable, truly remarkable. And silently, I was thinking, how the heck are you staying together on the beat if you can't hear anything? And what was immediately evident is because to my experience anyway, because you had both become this one being, this one movement, of course you were staying together. You could have done this without sound. It blew my mind. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And what a great metaphor, yeah?
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, Ileani talked about the silence, and actually, a lot of times we dance without music just to kind of get, maybe a step down or something. But actually, there was something that Ileani else said. She said, I can't remember what it was that.
You became one being.
Well, that's I don't think I've ever felt that sensation in any other dance. And you're kind of like this four-legged being walking together.
And really not being able to tell who was leading, who was following. I mean, at one point, I let myself make an assumption because of where somebody's hand was, higher or lower, but I let that go completely. And when I let that go completely, I could not tell who was leading and who was following.
That's really interesting also, because it's like in the beginning when I first started learning this, like back in 2004, I was the follower and there was a leader. And it's like I went to events where teachers were going, well, you're a follower, aren't you? I go, no, I'm a leader. Like, but that has actually changed a lot over the last several years, because there's, especially for women who want to lead, it's like you can lead another woman like I did, and also if the other person knows how to lead, then we can change leads in the middle of the dance. And it's just like mind-blowing to do that, because all of a sudden you're going from a lead role to a follower role. And it's just like, because there's a mentality about it. It's like the follower, if they can just go into zazen body basically and not think and just listen to what the leader is asking, that's the best. That's like totally mind-blowing. And then to change leads in the middle of the dance is like, oh my goodness, it's just incredible.
Is there a sequence to the steps, or do you just
lead
and do it however you want to?
It's all improvisation. She doesn't know what's coming next at all.
That's what it seemed like.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is the way life is.
Exactly. It's the total improvisation.
And I thought, and then we're gonna finish with a modified service. Two things is, one, I was just thinking about what's happening in our country and government, and is that when you're in a fear body, it's you do things like elbow people in the hallways of Congress. I mean, because it's like nobody will trust each other to do any of, we've lost that. And as we each more and more embody that in our own lives, it does, because my second thing is like it was transmitted across time and space to people on the screen, some of whom are half an hour away, some of whom are across the country. I mean, there is a really deep faith in this, that as we practice dancing together with our own hearts and our bodies and each other and the world, that it is intimately transmitted across time and space, to the past, to all the mistakes, to all the people we loved who died, to all the people who died who we don't like, is you can heal relationships right here and into the future. So there's something very, very profound here. Yeah, and important, because it's so easy, as we know, in the historical realm to go into despair and to go into, hopelessness. And you know what? Keep taking a breath and get over yourself. Sorry, and I say that to myself too, with a lot of compassion. But this is what Bodhisattvas do, is we do it for ourselves and the whole world. And we need each other, and we need our partners, and we need our Shuso. That was a great Dharma talk. So now we're going to, our Ino is going to lead us in chanting. We're just going to stay in place, and we're going to chant the Metta Sutta, which is in our books here on page, what page are we on?
6.
And if you have them